with the first pick in the NFL draft.
Hello and welcome to the Franchise Tag Draft Show. I am back with Adam for a top 10 prospect show. We are on to the defensive linemen, the big lads up front. Adam, this is quite a deep class for this position. There is some nice prospects. We might see quite a few of them going in the first round and second round. I think predominantly that's where they're all going to be going. There's some nice prospects here.
Yeah, it's quite deep, isn't it? Like you said, this year it was. You don't normally get that in this particular position. So yeah, there's a lot of really good guys, some quite exciting players that look like they're going to do pretty well in the NFL as well. And especially at the top end, I think we've got a good sort of like 4 or 5 guys who look very, very good. And but even the depth is decent as well. So yeah, it's quite a lot of guys. Exciting to talk about the big guys for a change.
I've also found we said this with a couple of the positions. I found that this one's again quite hard to evaluate when you have 2 different styles of defensive linemen. You have the run blockers and the pass. Am I going the right way around here? The run stoppers, should I say? And the pass rushers in this position.
Yeah.
Don't you know? You have 2 different styles, and you've got some guys that you go, "What? You know, he's amazing. He's got all these traits. He's good skills, but he doesn't, rush the passer very well, but he stops every single run." So it's finding out which one of them you value more, and then team fits as well. So we might see some of these guys that we've got on the list go higher than what we've got them, just because players want to stop the run a bit more than they want to, go to the
yeah,
court.
definitely. Like you say, there's a lot of them, and there's guys that obviously they do have different traits and different strengths and weaknesses and stuff like that. But it will be interesting to see how the NFL actually values them when it comes to the draft, because as you're saying, I think we're both expecting a few of these to go in the first round, a few of them in the second, and like real top lot to be gone before you reach round 3. So yeah, it will be interesting to see what they think of them.
Well, let's jump right into it and see who we've got at number 10. At number 10, it's one of your more favoured guys. I think you're just in for the Shamars and Texas A&M. I think you did say that before the season started when we were doing the college show that Texas A&M was like your team, didn't you? There was someone that you quite liked.
Well, I mean, I kind of just looked at it. I wouldn't exactly say they're my team. I don't really have any team.
We pushed you to pick, didn't we, at the start of the year? And
yeah. I kind of thought that Texas A&M would be interesting to follow. Because of a lot of the guys that they had on there, and just see what they'd do. But yeah, I mean, I think they looked all right, didn't they, last year? They didn't do too bad.
Well, this is our 3rd prospect along this D-line for them that we're going to be talking about. It's Shamar Turner. He's 22, he's 6'4", he's 300 pounds. He had 2 sacks, 26 pressures, and had a win rate of 15%, which is real good when we start going through some of these prospects, Adam. Very athletic production, although the win rates there, production you could say probably wasn't huge. What's your main takeaways of why you thought he's so good?
So what I liked about him a lot is that he's very versatile. I think that I noticed that he played at edge in 2023. He moved inside to inside defensive line. He even played at nose tackle for a little bit in 24. So I think that's really beneficial for a lot of NFL teams. I'm not saying he's going to go out and play edge now, but like he has the ability to play in all of them. I felt like he's held his own in all positions, really. I think he was all right in all of them. He's very quick, got really good hands, and he just the sort of hand placement means that the O-line struggled to get a hold of him, so that's very helpful. He's constantly moving his hands as well, which I think is really, really good. Really good motor. He's always keeps on trying to get past the O-line guys, and I actually feel like he can only get better in the NFL. I feel like he will improve, and he will keep going. He does lack a bit of consistency at times. He's not like 100% there, but I do feel like he's definitely got a lot of potential. I think he's a second round guy. I know you've got him as number 10, but I do feel like he's a second round guy, and that you're going to get people who are going to really like the fact that he does come with this versatility and that he does have great hands and he's got that power that he can just sort of like push the O-line guys back. So, like I say, it is about consistency that's a bit of an issue. This isn't the first time, obviously, that we've mentioned that with Texas A&M players in the defense. So it does seem to be a bit of an issue regarding the team themselves. But yeah, I think he's got lots of promise coming into the NFL.
Yeah, it seems like we're saying the same about a lot of their prospects, doesn't it? You know, the talent's there. They've got some very nice tools, but they're not living up to what they should be. I mean, this is probably the third player that we've said that for them. But so yeah, there's going to be lots of people interested in him. He does lack a little bit of length, but you know, makes up with great technique. So you know, it's good on that. He is good at the run stop. You've seen there he has got a good win rate on pressures. So 3 technique player. Has had quite a few penalty issues. I don't know whether that's a concern for you going into the NFL or whether you think that, you know, it's college, don't worry about it. The NFL coaches will clean that up, no problem. Would you see penalty issues as a concern?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of an issue. It does kind of make you feel a little bit like, you know, does he have the sort of the ability to sort of keep himself calm during plays and be able to not make so many mistakes? So obviously there is that concern, but I feel like this is where you do see the coaching is better in the NFL a lot of the time, and it just means that there'll be more emphasis on him being able to, you know, do the right things, make sure he doesn't make them mistakes so much. So yeah, I'm not overly worried about it, but I do think it is a slight concern where it's almost like, you know, you got to cut them mistakes out. But yeah, I would expect the coaching to help him out there.
Well, in at number 9, Adam, we have Darius Alexander from the Toledo Rockets, 24, 6'5", 310 pounds, 3 sacks, 33 pressures, win rate of 12.8%. I first started noticing this guy and looking at this guy because he is from a smaller school. Well, and they're not talked about loads, but we talked about them a lot last year when we were talking about Quinion Mitchell. And if you did put the tape on and watch a bit of Quinion Mitchell, you would have noticed this guy because he did stand out quite a bit. And then he had a great combine. So with those two things combined together, I think there's, you know, you get a bit of tape on him that you like, and you've seen that you might not have seen from watching them week in, week out.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, he had a really good combine. He actually had a really good Senior Bowl as well. He looked very good during that time. Like a lot about him, you know, really good size. He's decent against the run and the pass, so he's got that about him. He's got some pass rush moves, which are really good. Explosive for that first step. Very strong. I feel like he's pretty much ready to go, to be honest. He does have really good hands, but they are a bit inconsistent sometimes. His placement isn't necessarily 100% right, but he brings constant effort all the time, and I think that's the really good thing about him. Like I say, the hands are a little bit of a concern because they can be a bit inconsistent. Also, he's going to be 25 when he starts as a rookie, so he's going to be a bit older than a lot of these other prospects. But yeah, I mean, he's, like I say, I feel like he's there and he's ready to go, and he has that kind of power and that explosiveness of the first step to really make an impact on an NFL team. Again, I think a second round might be a little bit high for this guy just purely because of the age. I think it will put quite a few teams off, so it wouldn't surprise me if he dropped to the 3rd, but I think it'd be very high in the 3rd, and definitely a day 2 pick. But yeah, he's got a lot of good, promising things. It's just that I feel like the age is going to sort of be a bit of a knock on him.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame considering, like, you know, when you put the 3 things together that we said, tape is good, Senior Bowl's good, which is against the bigger players, combine's good, you know, 3-down player, reliable in the pass game, good at the run defense. I know. I think he lacks a little bit of finesse, a little bit, if you like. But
Yeah,
it is all there. Reminded me a lot of like a Deron Payne style player. They're similar. I think they're similar height and weight and play a little bit similar. So if you can have that sort of success and he is plugging and playing, and you can start him straight away. I think that might raise him upwards, and then maybe the 24 years of age might not be that much of a concern at the position that he plays.
yeah. I mean, I kind of hope that it doesn't affect it too much. I mean, I was having a quick look, and obviously, like Braden Frisk was 24 on rookie night. So it's like it would be a shame if it did have a big impact. And you see how well that he has done. So it's it's not the be all and end all. I just think that it's something that unfortunately certain GMs probably do take into account now, because they look at it and they go, okay, well, we've got this guy for like 4 years, but then he's going to be like 28, 29. And it's sort of like, do we really want to invest in that when you can get a guy who's like 22 now? So that's the only thing. But but yeah, he's still like a very good prospect. And like I say, hopefully he will be a second round pick, because he deserves to be. It's just more about whether or not someone will give him the chance to do it.
I know this is slightly off topic from the player we're looking at, but it's just popped in my head while we were talking about that. Do you find that as a position, every year there's a lot of really good interior defensive linemen in free agency? When you've got really good offensive linemen or really good wide receivers, they never really hit free agency.
Yeah.
So you kind of you have to draft them to get a good one. Whereas, the interior D-line, they do crop up quite a bit on free agency, some good, strong players. Do you think that might make people drop down the board a little bit?
Yeah, possibly. I think what you probably find with it is that there is an element of wear and tear. And obviously, if you are sort of like a little bit of an older prospect like Darius Alexander is, then obviously that would mean that you go a bit later at the end of your rookie deal. You're not necessarily, it's not like a position that you get loads of money for either, is it? It's not like a flashy position or anything like that. So it's kind of like, I think it gets treated a little bit in that way. So it's almost like, well, we'll have them for the rookie deal and then we'll just palm them off. But they're still decent. This is the thing. So it's like, but the thing is, you can just go and get a cheaper one as a rookie again and just keep going around in circles. I suppose it's kind of what we're seeing with the running backs at the moment. So, it's that sort of similar thing where it's almost like, well, we don't need to invest lots of money in these guys. So let's just sort of like move on to the next one.
Well, in at number 8, Adam, we have TJ Sanders. I don't know if you watch much of South Carolina Gamecocks, but they were great if you love defense. They were one of the best D-lines, I thought. I thought Hemingway, Kennard, Stewart were all fantastic. I mean, how big I am on Kennard, really liked him. But TJ Sanders was great as well. 21, 6'4", 290 pounds, 5 sacks, 33 pressures, a win rate of 12.9%. Improved massively is the pass rush. Strong guy, good leverage, movement and motor I got down for this guy. Adam, what's your thoughts on him?
Yeah, he's a bit sort of, I found he was a little bit hit and miss. I think that he's got great power, really explosive power, look really agile, very twitchy kind of guy. He's got a few really good like swiping hand moves that some of these other guys don't have. He does keep his head up a lot, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's kind of like he's got quite a good, I think he's got quite a good read of the game. So he kind of like, he sees where to go and things like that. Really good at getting in the backfield, definitely very good at that. He's a little bit, I think he's a bit scheme dependent, I have to say. I think he's a bit smaller than some of these other guys that we've spoken about. Yeah, so it not massively smaller, but he is quite, I mean, there's going to be a couple of guys later on who are a lot bigger than this guy. And to me, it kind of feels a little bit like he could be really good, but he needs to be in the right sort of scheme in order to do it. So for me, I think it's very much like he would suit a Shanahan system. He would suit a McVay system. I think that kind of team is what you're looking for. I don't necessarily see him going to somewhere like the Baltimore Ravens and playing D-line. Like, I don't really see that. Another concern is that he's had 7 starts, so he hasn't really been around as a starting like main guy a lot. So there is a lack of experience in that respect. But he has been obviously at South Carolina for a little bit now. I think he's got a lot of good points. He's a slightly different style defensive lineman than what we're probably used to. So for me, I don't know if he would really work amazingly well for a lot of teams. So yeah, I think it is very scheme dependent for this guy.
Do you think when we're looking at this, obviously I started off by saying, that D line was great at the Gamecocks, and it was so good to watch. Do you think sometimes when we're evaluating these players, because they are in the SEC and because their D line was so strong, Stewart being the draft next year, probably be a top 10 prospect. Kennard's in my top 15 at edge rusher. Do you think maybe there's more scope for these players to highlight and look well because other teams have got so many of them to mark and protect and things like that maybe I'm seeing a bit more in him because he had more time because they were focusing on the other guys?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, there is that obviously to it. I mean, it is all about the competition that you're playing in, isn't it? And stuff like that. If you're going up against a higher standard, then in theory, you've got better guys around you, and so the opposition's more interested in them as just as much as you. So there is always that sort of theory about it. But I just think like he's not bad. It's just that I don't think he's necessarily going to fit in a lot of teams. So I think he's going to be, like I say, very scheme dependent and very. He could drop because of that. I think there's a lot of teams that won't be interested. Personally,
I think if you've already got one of these 320-pound plus like space eaters, he's going to fit very nicely next to him as a compliment.
Yeah. That's fair. Yeah.
In at number 7, Adam, we've got Alfred Collins from the Texas Longhorns, 23-6'5", 320 pounds. 1 sack, 18 pressures, 7.3 win rate. Obviously, only became a full-time starter this year. Came in as a 5-star recruit, Adam. So there was a lot of hype on this guy in a bit of a rotation system in that Texas team up until this year because there's just so many recruits that come out of there. But I really like him. I think there's loads to really like about him. Again, he's another guy where you put on the tape and you're like, yeah, there's loads of traits here that would definitely translate in the NFL.
Yeah, I really like this guy. I think that he's a definite second rounder for sure in Alfred Collins. I think he's very like there's a little 3-word thing I've got of very much steady, reliable, consistent. That's basically what Alfred Collins is. Really strong run defender. He can play in pretty much all 3 of the inside defensive line spots. He isn't the most creative of people. You're not necessarily going to get loads of great like swiping hand moves and all that sort of thing, but he's very, very solid. He can play in lots of different sort of schemes. He can play 3-tech, 5-tech. He's good at. He does lack a bit of explosiveness and pass rush ability, but at the same time, if you want, as you were just saying, if you've got the sort of bigger guy, this is the guy you want who's going to stop the run defense pretty easily and is just going to fill up them holes. So, yeah, I think he's got a lot going for him. And I just think that I'd be very surprised if he didn't go in the second round.
Yeah, I think he's easily second round. Just need to improve in the pass rush a bit more if he is going to be a full-time starter in the NFL, I think. But I think there's scope for him to do that with the tools he's got.
Yeah, like everything about him, really, really good, and will do really well.
Yeah, in at number 6, and I'm guessing this is where it starts to differ for us slightly because I think you've got Collins above the guy I've got at 6. I don't think you're overly hot on him. And that is Deon Walker from Kentucky Wildcats, 21-6'6", 345 pounds, 4 sacks, 22 pressures, a win rate of 10%. I really like this guy. I remember looking at the prospects before the season started, and there was so many people saying this is a first round guy, he's going to be really good. And that was based off the fact that the year prior he had 51 pressures, 8 sacks, 14% win rate in the year prior. So there was big hype on him, and everyone was like, yeah, this is a first round guy. I think you could say the production level has maybe dropped off slightly this year. I do think he was playing hurt for a lot of the year, and the class is really good. So I think that's what's moved him down lists and down the order. I think he still is a second round guy, but maybe it's a late second round, and you might be higher on some of the others. But I really liked the tape the year prior, which is why I'm probably a bit higher on him than you are, who's I'm guessing only really watched this year.
I've seen a little bit of 23 tape. He did look very good in 2023, and then you look at him in 24, and it's just not so much. To be honest, it's like I don't quite know. Yeah, maybe it was an injury thing, and
he played well. You could say he played hurt all year rather than.
Yeah, I mean that's maybe that's the case. He just didn't seem the same. He just didn't seem the same guy, sort of thing. I think I'm not like. I don't think he's awful. I think that for me, he's probably a third round pick rather than a second round pick. I can like you say, probably towards the back end of the second, maybe someone will take a punt on him, but I just think that he's probably not quite at that level. He's great against the run. I mean that's his thing. Obviously, as we're talking about bigger guys in the middle being able to stop the O-line guys, and he's brilliant at that. But that's about as much as you get, and this is what you're dealing with when you're starting to talk about people of this size. I think it's almost like there is nothing else. He does play quite high a lot of the time. His pad level is pretty high, which creates leverage issues. I thought there is no pass rush plan. It's like it doesn't really exist because he is sort of like predominantly run. I thought his hands were okay, but not fantastic. He comes across as though he's very much a naturally gifted run blocker, and that's great if that's what you're after. I think that now teams will value players who can do both more, and I think there are more players that can do both. So I kind of have him on a kind of a bit of a just below Alfred Collins, as you said, because I think that Alfred Collins can potentially move a bit more, has slightly better footwork, and sort of just generally because his size is a little bit smaller can sort of help him both. Whereas for Dion Walker, just feels like very much like he's just a wall who's just gonna just stop anything that comes by, which is great if you've got a running back coming at you. But if you've got a running back jumping out wide, he doesn't necessarily have the agility and the footwork to quickly move the O-line guys out of the way, and that's where, like I say, the leverage issue is a bit of a concern. So I think he's third round for me. I think he's okay, and I think that like you say, if he was injured for most of 2024, then obviously that would explain quite a lot. So you can come out and go, well, there's potential there for him to come back to what he was in 2023. But I think teams might be a little bit like, I think I'd rather have a different guy and take our chances with that.
Yeah, I mean, but for the size of the guy, I thought his movement was really good. He's really light on his feet. You talked about TJ Sanders' swipe move. I think Dion Walker's got a really good chop move. I think that's something to keep an eye on. And you kind of touched on this a little bit when you were talking. I kind of agree with you a little bit. Where in the NFL, stopping the run is great, but ultimately it's a quarterback-driven league, isn't it? When the game needs to be won, it's going to be put in the quarterback's hands to throw on third down. And you might have done a great job at stopping them on first and second down in the run, but you've got to have a bit more than just run stopping it when it comes to the NFL. I know college, some teams just hand it off and only throw 10 times in a game. So slightly different. So I think that's kind of where you're at with it, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it's probably about right. And like you say, it is like that now. It's not just a run 3 plays in a row and just stop them anymore. There is a lot more to it, and so he kind of does feel a little bit like he's a bit of a throwback. But I do feel there's a place for him. I think that he'll be fine. I think that you're going to find teams are going to be looking more into guys who maybe can do a little bit more and have a bit more agility about them.
Right, into the top 5, Adam, and there's an argument to be made that every single one of these guys in the top 5 could go in the first round. Whether they all do or not, I don't know, because as we said about this position, that free agency, there still might be people there. They might drop a little bit, but at number 5, I have a top 50 ranking on him. So he's very, very good. I think he could be, if anything, it's going to be top of the second, isn't it? I don't know whether he'll sneak into. I think our first ever. Did we have him in our first ever mock one?
I don't know who it is because I lost the list. I've got notes on it. Yeah, that's who I assumed it was.
We should know by now that we have Ohio State players littered everywhere in every single prospect, because I am an Ohio State fan. But 22 years old, 6'3", 327 pounds, nearly made him 100 pound lighter. 327 pounds, 3 sacks, 20 pressures, 7.6 win rate. Great athlete, great run defender. Words that you like to use, Adam: low pads, anchor, power. So surely you love him as well.
Yeah, I think first round might be pushing it slightly for this guy. I think very high second. I agree with you in the fact that he's a top 50 guy. I do think he is, but I don't think that he will be going in the first round. Yeah, he again, another guy who's brilliant against the run game. As you say, got a very strong anchor, absolute wall to get past, and just has that sort of like that base that you don't really see with many of the previous guys that we were talking about. But yeah, really strong base. Plays with like so much power and effort, and every play he just pushes the pocket back. He just closes that pocket in on the quarterback. Wears the O-line guys down all the time, and I actually feel like he makes teams change the way that they use their run game. I think that he has that about him. He was brilliant against Oregon when they played them. He does have a few issues. He does rise a bit too high, which means that he loses leverage sometimes. He lacks pass rush moves. There's a few, but there's nothing. I think he could be a little bit more agile than what he is. I know he's a really big guy, but I do feel like he has the potential to do that. But yeah, he's got a lot of positives going for him, and I think he's a definite early second round. And I think any team that has, I'm trying to think of a team early in the second round who would need someone on the D line, but that there's quite a few, and we spoke about the Jaguars, didn't we? We've spoken about throughout this process about potentially Mason Graham going to them. Well, if they don't go him in the first round, here's your choice in the second round that would do you a decent job.
We had Jags, we've had Panthers taking Mason Graham before.
Yeah.
They both can't get him. So
no, funnily enough, no.
That's a possibility. Adam, I think this guy's arguably the best run defender in this list. I think there's a guy at number 3 I've got that could be if he unlocks a bit more. But I think as of today, I think Tyleik Williams for me is probably the best run defender in this class, and there is a bit of upside with him on pass rush. Just that's not his game, is it really?
No.
No. But yeah, really hard in this guy, but I am biased towards the Ohio State guy. So
yeah, I think he's got a lot of potential about him, and I think he'll do really well. he's got everything that you want. And when you sort of, you look at that and you go, okay, was the number 5 guys on our list, and yet we're saying he's got everything you want when it comes to that sort of position. I think it'd be great. And like I say, it'd be a brilliant pickup for a team early in the second round who couldn't go and get like the number 1 guy. So
right in at number 4, Adam, is Derek Harmon from the Oregon Ducks. Sky will be happy we've got some Oregon Ducks on there. 21 years old, 6'5", 310 pounds, 5 sacks, 55 pressures, 17.6% win rate. Now, before the season started, there's probably a lot of people that didn't have a lot of tape on him. They hadn't really watched much of him. It was this year that he kind of exploded onto the scene and just sort of worked his way up boards slowly and then as we got closer to draft, quickly. So he's getting a lot of hype, Adam, but the stats kind of show why, probably. Are you high on this guy?
Yeah, I think that we've got. I think this is now what you'll see, the top 4, and then there's a tier break after that with the rest of them. And I think that what you're seeing is you're seeing first round guys and then second round guys. It's basically what we're dealing with here. So yeah, I think he's really good. He's good against the pass and the run. So he can do both. I think that's also a difference that you'll see with these top 4 compared to the rest. These guys can do both, whereas for the others maybe not so much. He's got really quick footwork, great explosive first step, fast hands. That he can move the O-line guys out of the way relatively easily. I think he's a very, very competitive kind of guy. He's got a great motor on him. He's consistent as well, which obviously is great, and just an all-round bit of a disruptor. He just gets in the way and causes problems for the offense. Obviously, there are issues. I mean, he's only played really 1 year of like high quality production, as you said. He does struggle with balance a little bit. Sometimes he sort of goes over a little bit too quickly, and he kind of almost can become over aggressive, I suppose. So he does need to sort that out a little bit. He missed 7 tackles against the run last season, so that's where that's a slight concern as well. But I think a lot of it can be coached. Personally, I think all the sort of like the little issues are kind of like technical things that can be coached into him. And yeah, just very, very, very good win rate against the pass, as you've got on there. And yeah, he kind of reminded me of Brian Brzee a little bit. That was kind of one that I sort of saw from him, and I thought that he's definitely got something about him. So I think first round would be perfectly good for him. Towards the back of the first round, but I still think he's definitely a first round talent.
Yeah, I think when I said at the top of this for him that, this is the year that he exploded onto the scene and people might not have watched any of him prior, I probably alluded to the fact that he transferred from Michigan State to Oregon in 2024. If you do go back and do watch a little bit of the tape from Michigan State, I think they were using him wrong. I think they predominantly used him as a run defender, and they just kind of like saw him as a space eater rather than getting pressures. And then Oregon obviously decided that they were going to unleash him and let him get some of those sacks and pressures. And that's where it's kind of gone, oh, actually, we missed something here. He's not just a one-trick pony. And I think that's why he was unproductive for his 3 years at Michigan State. So, yeah, I think that's why he's, once you get onto a proper team that knows how to unlock you, there's more there. So maybe there's even more there in the NFL once it gets to the coaches with them. And which, again, we've got him at our 4th prospect. He could be one of the best from it if there's more to come from him.
Yeah, and he's also a bit younger as well. He's only 21 at the moment, so he has got a little bit of time on his side because of that. So yeah, I think he's got a lot of promise. I really do. And yeah, I think that you're, like you say, it's entirely plausible that he could be higher than what he is as 4th in this class, because although the other guys are really good, like you say, his sort of like journey through college does imply that there is more to get out from him. So yeah, I think he's got a really good chance of being very, very good.
Right, in at number 3, Adam, is Kenneth Grant from Michigan Wolverines, 21 years old, 6'3", 339 pounds, 3 sacks, 27 pressures, win rate of 9.5%. Adam, this guy's one of those the bigger guys that we're talking about. He's I've used the word space eater a lot. He is one of those guys, but he's an absolute freak athlete for the size of him. I've got 2 games in particular if you want to watch the tape, but people will often talk about them. The Penn State game, obviously in 2023, where he ran down Katron Allen, who's one of the top running back prospects at Penn State. And then this year when he had the strip sack at USC, and then it took Woody Marks, who's the running back there, to run him down. So for a big guy, he's got some wheels and got some athleticism. And I'm excited by him.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned them two. I actually thought that his best game this year was against your guys. I thought he did very well against that.
Both of the Michigan players against us were.
Yeah, he looked. I thought he looked.
He dominated the whole game.
Yeah, I thought he looked really good against Ohio State. He's got loads of potential. He does look really good. Again, another guy who's only 21, so there is a little bit more time there for him to sort of like get better. When he puts it all together, he can be special. He truly can. He is, like you said, a bit of an athletic freak. His footwork is incredibly fast, really quick hands. He's got all the moves that you need. Really good first step. Great against the run and the pass as well. That's we were saying about these guys. The concern with him is that he does have a bit of a desire to just constantly sort of win by finesse. Whereas I feel like, you got basically 340 pounds there, mate. You can just knock them over. But he doesn't seem to like doing that sometimes. It's like I think he needs to understand or learn that's just as effective of doing things. So he can be a little bit inconsistent because of that. He does have a bit of a pad level issue, but again, that can be sorted out. He doesn't, because of the pad issue where he sort of like blockers can get under him, it means that he's not maximizing like his length and the strength that he has. And like I say, it's kind of more about winning by finesse than it is by power a lot of the time. So that's the kind of concern with him. But I feel like, he is very young. That is something that can be coached. He has all the athletic measurements that anyone would want from a guy on the D line. And yeah, he can pretty much do everything that he wants to when he wants to. It's just going to be about a few little technical issues, and then just the fact of actually sort of like, using your power more. Don't just you've got it, use it kind of thing.
If you want to watch some tape on 2 players single-handedly wearing down teams in the offensive lines and the run games and everything like that, then whack on some Wolverines tape from last year. Not the year prior, because the team was a lot better. It was predominantly these 2 guys. Basically, all the wins they had came through those 2 on the defense. Work that one out. But yeah,
it'd be interesting to see who he goes to. It really wouldn't shock me for obvious reasons with the Chargers. I mean, that does make a lot of sense because of Harbaugh being there. But I feel like there are a lot of teams sort of towards the middle to back of the first round that need like defensive line guys. So it'd be interesting to see who does go for it.
Do you think that he goes above or after Derek Harmon? Obviously, slightly different. We talked about this, didn't we? Because I'm really high on Ken Grant. I think thought at one point I was going to put Mason Graham and Ken Grant 1-2, and that was going to be it. But there was a guy that I really, one of my favorites that came in between them. But I'm seeing a lot of the experts put in Harmon above Grant. Do you think that's purely because of what Harmon offers in the pass game as well?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, but then Grant's not bad in the pass game. I think it's just there's probably slightly more, maybe a little bit more explosiveness and agility from Harmon because he is a little bit smaller. So that would make sense. It does seem to be quite a recent thing, though, doesn't it? It's only been in the last sort of, like what, 2-3 weeks, probably since the combine, to be honest, that where Harmon does seem to be going ahead of Grant a bit more. I don't know. I'm not 100. Who knows where they'll end up going? I think they're probably both going to go around the same bit, to be honest, of that sort of like middle to back end, sort of 20 to, I don't know, 20 to 32, basically. You'll see both of them go in that range. So I think that's what you're talking about. But yeah, I do feel like there might be a little bit of a recency bias for Harmon, whereas for Grant, Grant's still good. He's good in the pass game as well. It's like
He just didn't need to do as much of it because they had someone else there.
yeah, possibly.
Well, we'll move on to number 2, and we've talked about a lot of position rankings here, and it's kind of one of them where if there's a standout guy like we had with Abdul Carter and various other positions that we've done, you kind of have a favorite then, don't you? Of like, yeah, well, he's number 1, but who's my favorite out of all the rest? And Walter Nolan for me was easily my favorite guy outside of that. 21, 6'3", 305 pounds, 6 sacks, 35 pressures, win rate of 10.3%. Obviously, he transferred from Texas A&M. He got out of Texas A&M where probably they just weren't unlocking players because he had an absolutely fantastic year at Ole Miss this year. First team SEC. So are you as excited about him as I am?
Yeah, I really like him. I think that he's definitely got a lot going for him. Very explosive first step. He reacts really quickly, which actually, in fairness, some of the other guys, that's not necessarily something that you put on them. But this guy, he's got really quick reactions, very agile. Again, another guy who's great against the pass and the run. He had a really productive year this year. Like you say, he got out of Texas A&M, so maybe that's why that's happened. And it helped him at Ole Miss. What was interesting actually was that he dropped in weight whilst being at Ole Miss, but still very, very strong. I actually think that he's, I mean, you're not going to have him as an edge rusher, but he, if you desperately needed to, I think he could play it, and I think that he's definitely got that ability across the whole line to go anywhere. So that's really good. He's got that versatility about him. I do feel like a little bit like Kenneth Grant, he needs to improve his technique a little bit. He does let O-line guys go under the pads too much, and that means that he loses out on leverage. He probably needs to bring in a few more moves. He's got a couple, but again, he hasn't got loads. And I feel like he relies on his athleticism a little bit too much. Not so much like I say, the technique isn't so much there 100%. So he sort of relies on that being such an athletic guy. But very, very good, solid pass and against the pass, against the run. Very quick, agile, great footwork. Kind of, for me, I kind of compared him a little bit to Milton Williams. That's kind of what I saw from him. And so, Milton Williams did play a little bit on the edge, didn't he, at times, and then sort of could go inside. And I think that's what you've got with this guy. So I think, like I say, that versatility is huge, and he's going to be great for that. Again, I think we're talking mid to late first round. I think that I actually feel like all 3 of the guys that we've just, him, Harmon, and Grant are all going to go roughly around the same spot, and you're sort of looking at that sort of back end of the first. But yeah, I think he's going to be great.
I think he's slightly higher than that. I think someone will take a punt on this guy in the middle. I think middle is the
possibly
lowest I've got him. I wouldn't say back. I think someone will definitely take him higher than that. But as we've said, it's deep, so people might pass and go a little later. But I think value-wise, I think anything sort of, I'd say top 15 is the value for him. But might drop below that
Yeah.
because of the depth. Adam, this guy's also got the lowest missed tackle rate of all the guys as well. So that, I think that's a really plus side. It's a guy with tools and production, which is something we haven't often said about a lot of the prospects this year in the draft. They've either got one or the other. So it's really nice to have a guy that's got both. And there's, as you said, he's a young prospect and there's room to improve for him. Like we said with Harmon, once he moved, it was unlocked. So is there more for this guy when he gets to the NFL as well? I think when we did I think it was your mock, maybe you mentioned Donovan Arezaku, who you said played with hair on fire. Was that the right guy? Is that
yeah. We've got one of them here.
I like that as well. So I'm going to say this is my guy that plays with his hair on fire. That's the one for me out of this class. So really love Walter Nolan. And no surprises here, Adam. Should we go to number one? Number one is Mason Graham, Michigan Wolverine, 21, 6'3", 320 pounds, 5 sacks, 34 pressures, 12.9% win rates. Arguably a blue chip player in this draft, outside of Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter. I think there'll be a lot of people that won't be able to pass on him at the top of the draft because of the talent there is with him. Adam, what do you think the upside is for this guy? And do you see people passing on him at all? Or do you think if you're sticking and picking, you're taking this guy?
Yeah, I think so. I kind of have him as a blue chip player myself. So I know that you've said a few times through this that there's only two, but I do feel like that he is definitely one of them. And so it's like I think you've got three. I think he is good enough in order to be classed as that. He's got just pretty much everything that you want. I mean, he was great against the pass and the run. Superb footwork, really quick, sort of like sharp turns, got that sort of natural agility to be able to move off quickly and on to the next guy. Explosive speed, especially his first step. Really quick hands as well, and actually really you can it's funny, you can just see it from the tape just how strong his grip is on the O-line guys and just how he can move them back so quickly. He's got loads of moves, pretty much everything that you want. Really sort of like twitchy, versatile kind of D-line guy, which is mental for someone who's of his size, but he has that. As I said about Kenneth Grant, amazing against Ohio State. Again, so was Mason Graham, completely cancelled out their run game in that particular one, and pretty much has everything that you want from a D-line guy. When it comes to negatives, I mean, you could say he's a little bit light compared to say like Kenneth Grant or some of the other guys, but he's not light. I mean, he's just as heavy as all the other guys. I think people were complaining about his arms being a little bit short. I mean, there's not really anything else.
Is this a classic? He came, I don't know the measurements, I haven't got them in front of me. Is this one of them where he came in at like 33 inches and the ideal size is 34?
Yeah, basically something like that. And it kind of feels like so what we're doing here is we're just trying to find something.
Nitpicking.
We can't just come out and admit that actually he's very, very good and he hasn't got many weaknesses. We have to at least find something to be able to come out and say, so that we've got, content, I suppose, or to come out with. But yeah, I mean, there's barely anything. He's pretty much a great prospect that anyone would be happy to have.
Covering all bases. If he comes into the NFL and for whatever reason it doesn't work for him, they can go, well, I did say he had short arms.
He had short arms.
I warned you. Because it is, with this guy, it is nitpicking, isn't it? If you want to come up with weaknesses, not like some of the other guys that need to polish up on things. I think it is very much nitpicking. Adam, I said when we first started talking about this guy, possibility might not get out of the top 5 in the actual draft. Do you see we've talked about the fact that maybe the Browns and the Giants don't go quarterback. Do you think that the Patriots or the Jags, if we're talking about it, would go, I'm going to take this guy?
Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I think if you start seeing that they don't go quarterback, which is kind of how it feels like it's starting to pan out now that they're not going to. If you start seeing, so you see Travis Hunter gone, you see Abdul Carter gone, you end up at the Patriots pick, and you sort of think, well, the defensive line isn't necessarily the most important thing for the Patriots, but at the same time, you've got someone of this standard that's just going to be like, and also you've got Mike Vrabel going in there, so he might want that. So it kind of makes sense for that. And even if they don't, again, the Jaguars, we kind of felt like defensive line is a need for them. So it's like, again, it might not be their biggest problem, but it's one that I think will make a massive impact for them and will really help them. So, yeah, I think now that the sort of the way the conversation has gone and how people are starting to feel and how free agency moves have been made, to me, it does feel a little bit like maybe the quarterbacks won't be going 2 or 3 and that they will drop further down. I think because of that, it makes it feel a little bit like Mason Graham should now be a top 5 pick for definite.
Yeah, and if he's not, you can't see Raiders or Panthers passing on him. So the lowest he could ever go would be 8 in that case.
Yeah. And that would be, I mean, that would be surprising if he dropped that low.
Yeah, we'd be asking, what did people find out that we haven't managed to
exactly.
In his interviews, I think, if that happens, because I can't see him getting past 4, 5, or 6.
But maybe his arms are about 10 inches too small or something, something stupid.
Who knows what size they are, because obviously
we had
the guys at the combine mismeasure everyone, didn't they?
They did say that, didn't they? Yeah.
Arm lengths wrong. By quite a substantial bit, because I know there was a lot of controversy that the players that went to the Senior Bowl had different sizes to the people at the combine. They were saying it was the people at the Senior Bowl that did it wrong, but then on at the pro days, they were back to the same size as what they were at the Senior Bowl. So I think they need to sack someone at the combine.
So Mason Graham has 32-inch arms, which apparently is 26%.
Yeah, the ideal's 34, isn't it? I think so.
I think so. Yeah.
So it's 2 inches, and he's a great player, and the tape's good. I didn't notice it was 2 inches when I was watching the film.
Yeah, exactly. This is the thing. I'm just trying to find someone who has like the ideal arm length. Who did? I wonder if Walter Nolan might have. I feel like he's got a long arm.
Well,
no, he hasn't. He's 32 and a half. Oh, he's got short arms as well. God, these little arm guys, I tell you.
It'll be your guy Turner. I think what's Turner?
That's a good shout actually. Shamar Turner. Let's try and find him. Oh, I tell you who would actually, and I'm a little surprised we haven't spoken about him. Omar Norman Lott.
Yeah,
he's one that's definitely one that's going to be decent. He's got 33 and 3/4 inch arms, which comes out as 62%. So it does go to show that he's like 34 and a half is probably the ideal, but I think Mason Graham would be okay.
Yeah, I undernard with the 10th spot, or you can call it the 9th spot if you're not high on Alexander, with Norman Lott I had on there, Turner obviously. I think I also had
Jordan Phillips.
No, I don't think I had Jordan Phillips on there. I think I might have had Farmer on there.
Okay, yeah.
And then there was a couple of guys I was quite high on, quite low down. I just probably couldn't.
There's a lot. There's a very, very, very strong partnership.
I really like CJ West, but I think that's maybe pushing it a bit too far. I think maybe I just like him because he's a really good prospect and you can get him later on rather than actually being a top 10 player.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys. I mean, there's Peggis as well from Ole Miss
Ole
who's
Miss, yeah.
decent. Yeah, there's a lot of really good guys in this year's class, and I think you're going to get a few steals later on as well.
Well, we only have one more set of prospects to go. It's the cornerbacks. I know you like a cornerback. I feel like that's one that you enjoy. You enjoy scouting them, and I've always
Failed wide receivers.
I've
Don't say
always
that.
said
That's
that
rude about them.
in previous drafts, I've kind of managed to get the number one guy right, but then after that, I've struggled a little bit, and I feel like you've always done quite well with the cornerbacks. So I'm interested to go through them, but that's it.
You want me to find your new Drew Phillips? Is that what you're after?
Yeah, that's what I definitely want you to find as a new Drew Phillips, and so we can get another one. Well, if we've not got Hunter, so yeah, that'd be interesting. But well, you'll have to stay tuned and find out who's Adam's next Drew Phillips is, as he was this guy who was high on last year. Quinion Mitchell, obviously, we were high on from the start as well. So
yeah,
that always worked. So yeah, really looking forward to that. But till then, keep it with the franchise tag, and see you again very soon.